Today, we live in a world that keeps accelerating. The C-level executives, they have to act faster than ever. Maybe you're going to literally want to run 5,000 scenarios in parallel on an infinite quantity of data. That's just impossible to do for anybody. These agents work all together, and you have to think about it as an extended team of whatever you have.
Welcome to the Matt Podcast. I'm Matt Turk from Firstmark. My guest today is Eléonore Crespo, physicist turned entrepreneur and CEO of Pigment, a company that has raised $400 million to bring AI agents into the CFO's office and already powers dozens of customers like Anthropic, Figma, Snowflake, Uber, and Coca-Cola. We talked about building error-proof AI agents.
We deal with very, very sensitive data. We have launched first 3 agents: Analyst, Modeler, and Planner. These agents really need to be separated because we are still at the beginning of the agentic framework.
Why self-driving finance is closer than you think.
We are working already with some customers on an autonomous planning system. That's not far.
Building a global category definer from Europe.
My goal is to create a global company, and it's about breaking boundaries between Europe and US.
And whether AI will finally kill Excel.
I have a prediction that Excel will.
Stick around for this excellent conversation with a truly remarkable CEO. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
I'm super happy to be here with you, Matt.
You are building an extraordinary company that people may or may not have yet heard about, called Pigment. What's the simplest way of describing what Pigment does?
Yeah, so maybe I will start by setting up the scene of what's happening today in the world, and I think that will explain clearly what Pigment does. So today we live in a world that keeps accelerating because of AI, but also because of macroeconomic events. So we see in the world so many things happening: inflation, tariff, wars, etc. So like supply chain shortage. And because of that, the C-level executives, they have to act fast on that. They have to act really, really fast and faster than ever. And if they don't have the right technology to help them take fast decisions, it's very difficult for them to adapt to these fast macroeconomic conditions. So there is this element, and there is also the proactive element of this macroeconomic condition, which is I want to potentially hire very fast because of AI. I want to potentially invest in some products, etc. And again, you need to make fast decisions. And so Pigment, in a nutshell, is what we call an AI enterprise performance management platform that helps you take better, faster decisions based on the right data. So we collect the data from all of your systems, so source system, whether it's your CRM, your ERP, your HRIS, etc. We put them in one platform, and we help you model that data to help you take these great decisions. So think about it very simply as what a GPS is compared to a compass. The goal here is to say, for instance, if you want to go fast and you're on the highway, we will help you take the highway. If you actually want to be cost conscious, we'll help you take another road that perhaps will waste less gas. And this is really what we are trying to do with our customer, is to help them adapt very fast and take very fast decisions to react to the world.
Fantastic. So I mentioned extraordinary company. So maybe give us some stats. So you're growing very fast. You've raised close to 400 million.
Yes.
In venture capital. How big is the company now in terms of number of employees, or any stat you can share?
Sure. So today we are 500 employees at Pigment. We are still growing 2x. We've been growing very fast since the beginning. There is real demand because of everything that I just explained. We raised 400 million. Thanks to you, Matt. You were one of our first investors, and I was so happy actually to get to know you now about almost 6 years ago. We have 60% of our revenue in the US. We serve more and more Fortune 500 customers because our platform is really for large companies. So we have really expanded there, and we are growing 4x the number of large customers that we have at Pigment. And so, that's just the beginning of the story, but very exciting for the future.
Yes, and maybe some customer names again, like for general situational awareness.
Sure. So we serve different type of customers. So we serve large tech companies in the likes of ServiceNow, Uber, and Snowflake, etc. And we also serve companies, AI companies, so many AI companies such as Anthropic, for instance. And we serve companies then that are traditionally literally any single industry. So we have retail companies, we have financial services, we serve Coca-Cola, we serve Unilever, we serve some of the largest payment providers such as Adyen, for instance, etc. So we really serve a very wide range of customers. And really, I think Pigment Pigment starts to be useful when you start to be, approximately 1,000 employees. And so this is really what we try to tackle.
And I seem to remember one of your earliest customers was Figma.
Indeed, yes. So we are powering a lot of US IPOs, and I hope a lot more this year. We are powering Klarna, we are powering Figma, we are powering Shime, and many other. So, Figma has been an amazing one of our very first customers. And I think what I love about the Figma team is that they have really started to use Pigment to the full extent, from finance to sales to HR. And I think, and I hope it's been quite helpful for them to prepare this incredible event.
So tell us about yourself. What was your founder journey that led you to here?
Yes, so I am an engineer by background, actually. So I studied engineering. I studied fundamental physics. And I think I had always had a passion for creating and understanding the world and trying to see, how could I have myself an impact on the world? So trying to really learn as much as possible. And I also always had a passion for freedom, I would say, and very large impact. And so when I did my engineering studies, I actually studied entrepreneurship in parallel because I knew that at some point I wanted to create a company. And so fast forward, I spent most of my career abroad, came back to Paris for Pigment, and I actually discovered the work of enterprise performance management during my time at Google when I was working as a data scientist for the CFO of Google EMEA and the CFO of Alphabet. And I discovered how much enterprise performance management could be difficult when it's managed on spreadsheet, and that's how we started. I did Index Ventures after that, and I saw, I would say, the other side of founders struggling with everything planning related, performance management related, and that triggered my real the willingness to actually start the company.
Yeah, what was the journey from Index Ventures, so a famous venture capital firm, to being a founder, and in what way did that help you or not help you to become a founder? Index
was fundamental in everything I learned. You have to understand that when you do engineering studies and you don't really understand what a great business looks like and what it takes. And that was for me the reason why I joined Google. Actually, was to learn amazing management practice. And actually at Index, I was the luckiest person on earth because I was literally every day talking to the best founders on the planet. We're talking about Figma. Figma CEO was one of them. Oli, the founder of Datadog, that is still a mentor today, was one of them. And many other companies at Index Power. Index has been an incredible experience for me to understand every single business model. And it also helped me understand what it took them to get there and how difficult it was in the journey. But at the same time, it triggered the fact that I understood that I could do it too. If I wanted to, I could at least try. And I would see their path from literally seed to Series A to, building post-IPO companies that were thriving. And for me, that was just phenomenal. So I've been incredibly lucky and grateful to be part of that adventure.
And when you were in school studying quantum physics, did you consider doing this as a career, or was it always clear that you'd be doing something else?
Absolutely. Actually, I thought first that I was going to do probably a research career. And at the time, so I studied that in France. And at the time, we had one of the best, I think, master of machine learning in France called MVA, and I actually wanted to take that role. But then I realized that the problem with research, especially fundamental research, is that the timelines are very, very long. And usually it takes you, more than 10, 15 years to start seeing the results. And the problem is that I think I don't have the patience. I have too much energy to wait 10, 15 years to actually get to see the results. I actually think that maybe today there is never a better time to do a PhD. Because I actually think that now, probably in 2 years, you can actually achieve things that you would have done before in 15 years. So that's quite exciting, actually. It's a good time to be in fundamental research.
Meaning with AI? Or what accelerates the timeline of a PhD?
For sure. It's AI. Definitely. I think, AI will trigger so many ways to discover great things, whether it's in biology, in physics, anywhere else. It's like you're going to be able to have the fastest feedback loop to discover a new process, a new protein, a new way to do something. And that's so exciting. I'm pretty sure today, I would imagine, I was thinking about something is that one of the reasons I actually went to Google, I think, was because of Demis Hassabis. It was very early stage of what DeepMind is today. But I was so impressed by everything they were doing. And I think that really triggers my willingness to join Google. But the fact is, I do think that when you hear him talking today, for instance, about the power of AI and what potential edge AI will bring to the world, I do think that every timeless is going to decrease. And perhaps we're going to go back to a time where, Nobel Prize will be won by people that are like 25 years old, like Einstein or whatever, just because you are able now in a PhD to discover the unknown. And that's so fascinating and amazing.
Like, I wonder if the bar is going to just like keep raising and like people will still have to do 4 years because that's sort of the way you're supposed to do it. You'll just be expected to produce something even more mind-blowing.
It's possible, but I think the brilliant mind will probably be able just to accelerate their thinking and actually push through perhaps 10 ideas instead of one. Yep. And that's incredible. That's just incredible.
Except if AI becomes an autonomous scientific discoverer, which it seems to be on the path of doing, in which case maybe there will not be any PhD.
It's for sure going to become discovering like many, many new things in science in every domain. But I still think that at least for the foreseeable future, you will still need some sort of human supervision to guide them, to oversight them, to give them a framework into what they should be looking. And I think today AI has been incredible at knowing what they know and fetching the web for whatever is known. But we still need AI to prove how much they can help with the unknown. And I think that's going to be the difference in the world too, is people that are able to push AI to do the unknown. And I don't see it coming completely naturally. I'm sure that over time it will, but I think there are some incredible years right now to actually push AI to start working on the unknown.
You mentioned impatience, which I love as a term. I obviously as a VC, but a lot of people that listen to this podcast and other podcasts are fascinated by the founder persona. What makes great founders. So what kind of kid were you growing up? It sounds like you're a combination of like being deeply thoughtful but impatient. Like, what kind of kid were you?
I don't know. You should ask my mom.
On the next episode of the Mad Podcast, Eleanor's mom. Yes,
that's a concept.
I do think it's a concept. It's a great idea.
Yeah,
like this. Yes.
I think you would learn a lot more.
This is the birth of a spin-off of this podcast happening live right
here.
Here.
Indeed, because you will get the secrets of I call my mom when I have an issue. She's the only one that knows some of the things I'm worried about. So. Anyway, so I don't know. I think I was just, as I said, like super curious, too much energy probably. I needed to put it somewhere, and just I love to learn. So I've always tried to learn, and I think also quite competitive, to be honest. I think I was always very competitive, and in a way that might be different from like an athlete, but like I think I always wanted to just push myself the hardest, and still today I think that's what I need to do as a CEO. I think it's a trait that you keep having, and I think it's what we try also to hire for at Pigment. Like it's for me the people that can be successful in a fast-paced environment. They are learning all the time. They are trying to coach themselves to be better. They are never satisfied with what they've done. They are just trying to go faster to execute things at the moment. And I think that's really that's really the only way to make progress, I would say, in a fast-growth environment. And it's clearly not for everybody because it's really hard every day.
Do you now also select people based on sort of AI fluency? Is that a thing at Pigment? Obviously, there was the Shopify memo and various other founders that started talking about this. Is that something that is now part of your criteria?
Indeed, for sure. I mean, in the interview process, whether we are hiring for an executive or whether we are hiring for a seller or whether we are hiring for an engineer, if they do not have the curiosity and do not have like a thoughtful idea around how AI is changing their job today, how AI is revolutionizing the world of what we do today, etc. For me, that they're not going to be very happy. It's not because we're going to keep pushing them every day. And I do think also that you can still find, it depends what you call AI fluency, because you can still find people that perhaps in their company were not exposed to AI as much as they will be at Pigment, both from an internal process standpoint and also from a product standpoint. But then what you need to look for is people that are naturally curious. And if you ask them in the case study to work on everything AI, and if they don't come back with a good answer, then you know that they are not able to act very fast and learn. But clearly, I think it's not going to work. And as everything is accelerating, it's not going to work if you are not able to adapt to the technology.
Actually, while we're on the topic, presumably you guys are heavy users of AI productivity tools like coding and other things.
Yes.
Maybe one or two thoughts on that. What do you use and what do you find helpful, not helpful?
Yes, so we try to push it. So we have an internal AI committee. So we really try to push it across teams. And we actually have a committee to make sure we know what we are doing within the company, because we could end up buying 10 times the same tools and every team trying. Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
Yes.
So we try to put guardrails, and also, as you can imagine, with Pigment, we handle very important data and strategic data for our customers. So we need to make sure that it's okay to use an AI tool and buy it kind of bottom up when you're writing a blog post, but it's not okay to use on Pigment data or on a customer call, for instance. So we have this incredible committee now, and so I think we really use it across every single team. So obviously from code generation in engineering to everything in marketing, like generating content, generating SEO, helping us with literally every team in marketing. We have built also our internal AI tools with the growth team that we have internally to help actually feed the right leads to the right seller at the same time, know exactly when someone might be ready to buy,
and you
etc.
build that internally versus working with a vendor.
Yes.
Why?
So and what we've built internally, don't get me wrong, is a combination of internal IP and also like connecting with some vendors. But we could not find exactly a vendor that was doing exactly what we wanted. So we decided to build it internally and really fit with our own process. We obviously use, call recordings technology extensively. That's so helpful to coach everybody. That's really, for me, like such a big game changer. We use it, obviously, everything note taking now. I think it's not acceptable anymore at Pigment. If you leave a meeting and you don't know what's been talking about, that's not acceptable. And so in every team, we are trying some technology, obviously in legal, etc. I think there is really power everywhere. And guess what? Pigment everywhere as well is helping a lot on everything data. So I would say on unstructured data, we use a lot of technologies across teams, and for structured data, a lot of it is on Pigment. So
all right. So for the core of this conversation, I'd love to talk about AI agents. So from two perspectives. So first, from you guys' perspective as builders of AI agents, what you've built, what you've learned, and then from your customer's perspective, what you've seen work, not work. Obviously, AI agents is like the hot topic of the last 12 months. But I think it's very hard for people to parse what's working, what's not working, what's reality, what's hype. So I'd love to get into some details there. So maybe to set the stage, starting with what Pigment is building. So you've launched 3 agents.
Yes.
So talk about what those are and what they do.
Yeah, first 3 agents. So maybe also just to go back to a bit of context around what we were saying, because that will, I think, explain a bit the philosophy behind these agents. I think with Romain, my co-founder, we were trying to solve for 2 things. The first thing was what I said earlier, which is around acceleration of the world. Companies needed to act very quickly and needing to think about how to improve their margin very quickly, how to adapt their plan very quickly, how to reorg very quickly, how to do all of these things that normally take a lot of time. So that's on one side. On the other side, I think you have everybody that works that do not necessarily love their work. They love what is it about their work. So they love ownership, they love impact, they love autonomy, they love collaboration. But do they really love gathering data? Do they really love cleaning data? Do they really love reconciliating data from one source system to another? Do they really love doing budget variance analysis every month? Do they really love thinking every month about reorging their territory and quota if you're in RevOps? Do they really love matching supply and demand when you are in supply chain? No. What they love is finding insights as soon as possible to actually trigger action. And the most important is what it is. It's find time to decide, to be smart, to look smart in front of your CEO, to have the right answer, to feel very secure about that answer, to collaborate with other stakeholders to actually make that answer stronger. And also, on top of that, obviously, to take actions. And most of the time, the problem with what we do is that you have a lot of finance teams, you have a lot of HR teams, RevOps team, etc., that were working in rigid, very complex tools. They were working also on Excel, and they were not at all able to do what I said. And so if you use, for instance, like legacy tools that, are very rigid and complex, you are working really on trying to, I would say, get accurate data, but you were not able to go at speed. You were not able to go fast. If you were working in Excel, it was a bit the contrary. And so that's a huge, huge problem for any team out there, because obviously that triggers the first problem that I described, which is if you spend your time then collecting data, gathering data, how smart are you in front of your CEO? How are you going to really improve the company trajectory? Imagine your plan is falling short and you don't have the EBITDA you were waiting for. Like, what do you do? Like, how can you act fast on that? There is no way. So you have to understand that the concepts of our agents is to help literally on these two topics, is to help company be better, thrive more, be more competitive, be able to react faster, and to really improve their trajectory on the fly. And it's also to help people find delight in what they do and help them be smarter and help them be more creative and help them spend time on what matters. So that's the philosophy. Is that clear?
Yes.
So maybe I can go into the agents, because you were asking me. So we have launched and we have announced our first 3 agents: Analyst, Modeler, and Planner. So these agents work all together. And you have to think about it as an extended team of whatever you have, right? So imagine you are in finance and you have the analyst, you have the modeler, and you have the planner. So the analyst is here to actually work on the why. So he's here to really work on the why, explain the data, carry some recurring analysis to literally help you save time, do this analysis. That's the job of the analyst, as simple as it is in the title. The modeler is here to help you adapt models very fast. Because as I said, most of the time, that's a problem, and it's really why you really need an agile platform like Pigment. Is you need to adapt your model constantly because you have new countries, new product, you think about your business differently, etc. And so the modeler is here to help you build new models, whether it's financial models, HR models, supply chain models, etc., at scale on Pigment very, very fast and adapt them. And the planner is actually here to help you understand different scenarios. So it's really going to help you, for instance, if you want to run 1,000 scenarios in parallel, the planner agent can help you do that. So it's going to help you work on the levers of your scenarios and really help you do, if you want to do a 46K forecast, you will be able to do that. So think about it really as an extended team that is going to be able to work for you on these different topics and obviously work together. And we can come back to that.
Why 3 and not 1? Is that just easier for people to wrap their minds around, or is that more of a technical constraint?
So I think today these agents really need to be separated because we are still at the beginning of this agentic framework for I think any company out there, and they are working on very different things, very different sets of data, and very different ways of working. The analyst is working more, like I would say, on the past and present. Think about it more as a BI analyst almost. The planner is really working on with machine learning, with forecasting, and obviously handling very complex tasks to actually carry on multiple forecasts at the same time, etc. And then the modeler is really here to work on your models, on your formulas. Think about it as Cursor or other companies that are there, Augment or whatever, for finance team, for HR team, for analysts. So it's a very different task, but over time, what we want and what the user will see is really, we'll have the supervisor on top. That is really the only way that a user will interact with the platform. And the user will just, give the agent a set of commands, and the supervisor will then decide, okay, that is going to be done by the analyst, and then we're going to pass that task to the modeler, and then to the planner. And so the goal over time is that there is only one agent. But before that, I think we're going to launch tens of agents that are going to do different things. We want to launch a consulting agent, for instance, that is going to help during the implementation of Pigment. So this is really a set of agents, and really the goal for us is to have these agents do 2 things. One, and I think that's going to be the same for every agent, is automate some repetitive task with low added value, but also work on high complex tasks that no human would have been able to do. So really enable, I would say, the impossible, because these agents are more powerful, obviously, than any human being. So,
amazing. All right. So much to unpack here. So one that you alluded to is the coordination. So if you have 3 agents and in the future dozens of agents, that concept of supervisor, is that a supervising agent? Is that a human? How does it all work together in an orchestrated manner?
Yes, so it's a supervising agent, but I do believe that in what we do, there will always be on top of that a supervising human. Because we deal with very, very sensitive data. And so you want a human to always be here to make sure that we are going in the right direction and put the right guardrails around the framework that we're giving to the agents. So maybe I can give an example that might be easier to understand. So if you think about these agents working together, so if you take, for instance, an analyst, so a financial analyst, let's say like it's a Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., and they have today to run an analysis for their CFO. I'm inventing that on the go, so we'll see if that goes somewhere. But imagine they have to do that. So what you will have is they will give a prompt to the agents, and first that will trigger the analyst agent of understanding. So let's say, for instance, they want to do budget variance analysis. We were talking about that before. That will trigger a first action, which is understanding budget variance analysis, perhaps across 50 products, 20 countries. I don't know how many cost centers. So already imagine the complexity of that. It's a lot, because that's things that could perhaps take you months, or maybe you would not even be able to do that. So that's the first step it does. And then it will probably find some variances. And then you will have probably to take a decision because there are variances and you will need to act on that. So then that will actually trigger the planner agent that will identify the levers of these variances. And these levers of variances then needs to trigger what I would say a new scenario of data to say, okay, actually, if I improve that lever, that's a scenario I suggest you take to actually now be back on budget, for instance. And so in order to do that, probably the planner agent is going to call the modeler agent via the supervisor, and the planner agent will tell the modeler, you actually need to modify the model to make that work, because now you need to create a new scenario, and perhaps we'll introduce some new variable in the scenario to actually make that happen. And then at the end, it will give you scenarios, and it will give you literally on you to just take the decision at the end and to say, okay, these are the different scenarios possible. We see that we have variances here, there, and there, and this is what I suggest you do. And here you will have obviously triggered these 3 agents. So that's one example, and there are many, many of them, of course, where you would do exactly the same thing, whether it's on territory quota analysis, whether it's on matching supply and demand. I could take the example of Coca-Cola today, who is using today the analyst agent, which is the first that we launched to actually understand where there are problems between supply and demand. Well, you can imagine that over time, when that runs, obviously today it runs 24/7. When that runs 24/7, then it will trigger the other agent automatically, which it doesn't do today, to actually help again take decision to say, okay, now I see that my demand and supply do not match in that particular country or for that particular product. This is what I'm going to do, and these are the 2 paths I can tell you should explore.
And the agents, as of now, stops at recommendation.
Yes, they do. Yes.
And the handoff to the human is like, okay, here's a set of options. Here's my recommendation. You human review and do the next step.
Yes. So maybe to take a step back, because we are in a very different world than any agent working on unstructured data. We work on structured data, and we cannot afford mistakes. So the way we are actually using today generative AI in our agent is very different from a lot of companies out there, because the way we do it is that these agents actually interact with the Pigment platform. So every calculation is made on the Pigment platform. Everything we do, really, like all the calculation, the audit trail, etc., is done on the Pigment platform. So that makes a big, big difference, actually, because it means that we do not look, I would say, at audits and understanding really the guardrails, etc., the same way as an unstructured company would do, because unstructured data company, because for us, we need to make sure that everything is 100% accurate. So the most important is clarity, more than really getting to an answer as fast as possible, for instance.
So you do not have a hallucination problem because you cannot afford one. So you constrain the agent in a way, just to play back what you said, that just where you do get to 100%.
Yeah, so the goal is to constrain really the agent to, and it's really in the way, so for instance, if today you work with the analyst agent, the analyst agent is really going to go pick the data directly within the framework, the labeling framework we have, the metadata that we have within Pigment, and is going to ask you questions until it makes sure really understands, exactly like a junior analyst would do, for instance, until it really understands what data to pick from.
Yeah.
And then it will trigger some calculation, but every calculation is done on Pigment and then back to the human. And then today, what we will advise for, I think, still quite a while, is to make sure that the human does a feedback loop of validating the data. For me, the human today with Pigment is here to set the framework, to say what they want to do, and then validate the data, but just forget about the cumbersome part in the middle. And where we are incredibly lucky is that we had all the technology to make these agents very effective, because the way they are built is that you on Pigment, you have obviously very, very deep audit trails. You can, you have like diagrams of data where you see all the dependencies from one data point to another, how it was calculated, etc. So it's actually very easy for humans to verify that. We also have our agents that verify that. So we have agents that, do like first error validations, etc. But today we still recommend everybody to check the data because it's too important.
And those verifying agents are behind the scenes?
Yes, exactly. So you carry on an analysis, and then the agent runs a series of tests to check if they think the analysis is correct or not before rendering the data to any human being.
It sounds like UI UX is a very important part of how it all works. So just for people to understand and visualize what's happening, you expose all the steps, and each time you have the human in the loop validate. Do you expose a score of X% confident that this is 100% accurate?
So the way it works today is really every time you carry on a calculation, whether you do it with your agents or without, you can see the entire audit trail, and you have to even understand that Pigment, sometimes with some of our customers, we power a lot of public companies, is used as a governance platform. So we log everything, and our agents log everything. So they log even more than humans in a way, because I cannot tell you the number of time. I'm sure you see that with your portfolio companies, that sometimes you come to a result, you don't even know how you came to that result.
Yeah.
With agents, that's amazing, because that's the magic. You can really log everything very, very precisely and gather all that information. So that's really how Pigment works. And then obviously we carry accuracy tests along the way, and we make sure that we expose that also to our customers, and that we work with them to obviously improve that over time. But the goal for us today, to give a rough idea, is to say we want to be more accurate than a human being, which is not hard, by the way. I'm joking, but it's really what we try to do, is to, and this is the feedback we're getting from our customers, by the way, is that we are more accurate than when they were doing before.
So you've sort of passed the Turing test of AI agent performance already. Your
I don't know if I would call it that this way, but I would say that at least I would say for the analyst agent first, we can really carry on end-to-end analysis and give an answer that is very, very satisfying to our customers. And we got like incredible feedback from all range of customers that are using it today, and that all tell us that yes, it's really like another. As if they had hired a bunch of analysts in their team that is doing the work for them. So
yeah, no, I'm asking because it's a truly fascinating concept, right? Because I think we all understand and sort of got used to the idea already in the last 12, 24 months that sure, AI is going to make things faster. It's going to cut out a lot of the grunt work, the stuff that you don't want to do. But it feels like that next step is, well, AI is not just going to do that, but it's going to be actually much better than a human systematically.
Yes.
And that seems to be on the verge of happening, talking to a bunch of people. It's not quite benchmarked, but like we seem to be sort of on the cusp of this happening. Or maybe it's already happened, but like from the conversation I'm having, like it seems like we're just getting there. Like I was chatting with some AI customer success companies where same thing, like the value proposition of AI, customer chatbot was always, well, we're going to deflect X%, and 20% of the time people will hate us, but and now we sort of seem to be getting in a situation where the AI is actually better than any human customer service agent all the time, which is fascinating and scary at the same time.
Yeah. So I would say for us, obviously, it's still the beginning of the revolution. So there is still so much to build and discover in terms of, when, for instance, we're at the very beginning of the planner agent. So we'll see exactly how that brings us to the next level of accuracy, etc. But I would say, clearly, there are ways with technology, combining technology to actually make that happen. And I think more so also what you said is very interesting. beyond accuracy, it's also enabling the impossible. And I think that concept is phenomenal.
Yeah, let's double click on that. You mentioned automating some mundane tasks and then like doing things that humans cannot do. What is that?
There are so many things that humans cannot do today. And there are so many tasks that would literally take a lifetime to carry on. So, if you really want to do think about any large company out there have a combination of products and countries and business units and cost centers that, makes the combination really, really hard to understand at scale. That's just impossible when you carry on an analysis to do that. Or if you really want to, let's say, improve your plan, you want to improve your margin, and you want to actually understand all the potential levers to get there, and then you want to understand the variety of scenarios, maybe you're going to literally want to run 5,000 scenarios in parallel on an infinite quantity of data. That's just impossible to do for anybody. And so there is that, and there is also, as I was saying earlier, sometimes the problem is just people are time constrained. So perhaps, maybe in 3 years they could get to a result, but they just don't have that time. So I think this is what is fascinating, and these are just like the first example that we see today with our customers and how they're using the product. But I think it's going to unlock a lot of use cases that we have no idea about today. We have no idea about, and that's, again, going to do things that were just not possible before. What I described, for instance, about Coca-Cola, they were just not able to do that before. They were just not able because it's just too complex. And so I think that's really what I love is this ability to carry highly complex tasks, do the mix of everything you need to do when you're an analyst, from looking at the past, understanding the present, getting input from everybody at very, very fast pace, going to think about the future and thinking about all the universe of possibilities that was just not possible before.
There's a long legacy in the history of SaaS companies in the finance space that basically said, we're going to kill Excel, And then, the irony is fast forward to today, Excel is still very much around. Are we at that point, though, now? Is AI actually replacing Excel?
I have a prediction that Excel will still be here in 5 years. And there is a good reason.
Taxes and Excel, the three things that are certainly in life.
You can keep that. In 5 years, Excel will still be there. And in 10 years, Excel will still be there. Why? Because, yes, the innovation is going at the speed of light, but there is a difference between the innovation going at the speed of light and the fact that enterprise will take a long time to adopt it properly. And I think that's what will make Excel still alive in several years. And I do also think that in Excel there are some very intellectually interesting concepts that, yes, will be replaced by AI and generative AI, etc. But there is still the rendering concept of what Excel is, and the concept of the pivot table, and the concept of the easy input, etc. that we have in Pigment, actually, that we think are so important because if you think about the Pigment experience, it's not just the agent. It is, first of all, the underlying technology, the power of the platform, the power of the calculation engine, but also the UX on top. We were talking about it earlier, how the UX is actually help you render the data. And Excel is a very good render of data. And it's also a very good way to actually input data for anybody in a company. So I think there will still be some sort of Excel out there. But I do think that finally humans will see that there are very, very easy way to get access to the technology that will unlock a lot of new use case and give a lot more autonomy to decision makers too.
Autonomy is a really interesting word for decision makers, but also for systems. So we all understand we need to walk before we run and build reliable agents and all the things. But suspending disbelief a little bit and fast forwarding, do you think that we land in a world where enterprises are effectively automated? Can you imagine a world where Pigment does the data gathering, cleaning, storing of the data, suggests an action, the action gets validated by the supervisor, and the action actually gets taken? So hire X many people in Switzerland and launch a product in the US, kind of thing?
Yes, so actually we are working already with some customers on an autonomous planning system. And we are working right now very seriously with, I can say, the largest transportation company in the world, I think, as of today, which wants that. And that's not far. That's not far. It's not going to be here in 6 months, but it's not very far. And I think they are going to work on topics around sales planning, doing automated segmentations, assigning territories quota directly, automating that obviously for any seller out there, understanding also how that links to finance, etc. And that's our goal. It's autonomous planning, because the problem is that in planning, there is still so much wishful thinking that this is what makes company fail most of the time. So you were talking about hiring. So there are so many companies, I'm sure, in your portfolio. They do planning and they'll tell you that they are going to be able to hire 200 people in the next 6 months, and it's going to be easy. And then I can tell you that you put any agent from Pigment looking at the data and running a couple of analyses, they will tell you, no way, you don't have the TA capacity, you haven't been thinking about like how long it takes to hire, etc. And you're completely wrong. You're going to hire maybe 120 if you're lucky. So these are the things where you have so much, I would say, wishful human thinking in there, and this is really where the technology can bring so much value, and where autonomous planning will make a huge difference in any business and make them a lot more competitive.
Such a fascinating concept to think about, because presumably that gets kind of real time at some point, right? Like, so Russia invades Ukraine, and next thing you know, your supply chain automatically adapts in real time, and probably faster than anybody else. Therefore, you have access to like a better alternative of your supply chain, because people haven't moved as fast, the people that don't have the automated sort of planning agent.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's really the dream we are trying to build. And I think it's going to be a total game changer for any company out there.
Yeah, and because you work on centralized planning, like you're very much building the sort of operating system / nervous system of any company, right? So you're ideally positioned to do that.
Yeah, I think we are very lucky, because we are the single source of truth. We have the data, we know how to operate on that data, model that data, and we know how to change things very efficiently. That's also the other thing, is that we have a very agile and flexible platform. So every time you want to change something, you can change it super, super fast. And with the modular agent, that means really making your models evolve. So you have, imagine you have a war, and indeed your supply chain process change. Boom, immediately, if you need to remodel something, do something in the platform, it's super easy. So that's it's, I think, as we were discussing earlier, the problem will not be so much the innovation, but the capability for enterprise to truly adopt it at scale. I think that's going to be one of the big issues. But I do think that the companies that will do that, they will thrive. They will be the best companies out there in the very near future.
Let's talk about adoption. That's, as we alluded to at the beginning, that's a topic I definitely want to touch on. Just going back to today's reality about how that all works, do the agents work on top of LLMs, like the OpenAIs and Anthropics of the world, like whatever you can talk about there?
Yeah. So we partner with OpenAI, which has been our biggest partner since the beginning.
The reasoning models or the general models?
Yeah. So actually, it's a mix of that and also our proprietary technology. And then we also work with Anthropic. We work with Gemini. We work with Mistral. And so we over time we want to really offer anything. And also, we have many customers. I'm taking the example of ServiceNow that is obviously pushing very hard on agents that want to use their own agents, for instance. So this is also something we want to be able to do. So for us, the goal would be really to be as agnostic as possible and offer a variety.
Meaning to collaborate with ServiceNow agents?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And collaborate and also use their own LLMs if they want to do something specific. I also think that's one thing. And then what we also want over time, if you think more about the agent framework around us, is we want to build a marketplace where all of our partners, whether it's technology partner or implementation partner, can build their own agents that can plug into Pigment.
That's the other fascinating part. We're just talking about like this kind of very real-time automated enterprise. Of course, the next question is how automated real-time autonomous enterprises collaborate with one another. In which case, like all of us humans are just like at the beach, hopefully reaping the financial rewards of whatever the enterprises do. But yeah, that's that concept of a cross-company collaboration.
Yep.
But it sounds like you're already there then in terms of at least technically being open to
yeah,
it.
we are open to it. We are not there clearly, but we want to be there. We want to be there, and I think it's going to be critical because we are. I think the best technology companies are all developing their own proprietary technology, and for us, as we are this single source of truth, we really need to integrate with what they need if we want them to be very powerful. So,
is that a token intensive business you're in? One of the key themes of the day is gross margins and cursor. Do you have calculations sort of constantly running in the background?
Yeah, it's probably not as token intensive as other businesses because we run our calculation ourselves. So it's more like you use the LLM to actually question the platform, but then the platform does the calculation itself.
Right. So it's a translation layer, which is the token part.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe as a last question on agents, are there areas where you do not want to build agents, where you think the agentic approach and AI in general is actually not worth the squeeze?
It's really hard to tell. I would say today there are some very simple analytics where it might not be worth using an agent for, I would say. But maybe tomorrow you really want to do everything with agents. So I think there is a short term of, maybe sometimes you'd better off just use a dashboard in Pigment and look at your data. But I do think that over time, you really want to carry any sort of ad hoc analysis on Pigment and that, the cost will be really, really ridiculous compared to the value you're going to get. So that's really what we would be aiming for, especially as we go towards that vision of autonomous planning that helps you take decision. So I would say the more you can log actually on the platform, the more information the platform will have, the better it will be at understanding who you are as a company. Because again, you see that all the time, a lot of planning discussions, a lot of what's happening has to be logged in the platform. So I would say the more analytics you will do with the agents, the better it will be trained and the more relevant it will be over time. So
yeah, so this implied in a couple of things you said, including now. So there is a concept of constant feedback loop,
yes,
where the system gets better. Can I sort of declaratively input what my policies are, at Coca-Cola or at company XYZ? This is how we do planning. This is how we look at data. Or does the system has to learn?
Yes, so
100% of it.
I would say it's two things. So I would think about it when you start as if you were going to train a new analyst that has just started in your team. So you need to train them on the concept and on your constraints as well. So I think it can be. It's not as powerful as what you describe. I think it could go there. It's not there yet. I think today it's more able to really act under constraint. So to know that, you are never going to be able to hire, you are maybe a 200-person company, you're not going to hire 1,000 person next year. That doesn't make sense. So it's going to be able to work through that set of constraints. And I think over time, we'll be able to input even more rules around really how we work. Already today, also, you can feed them into the way you do workflows, and it can follow the workflows you want. So today, really think about it as, at first, when you're going to set up the agent, you're really going to talk to the agent and explain to him or her, I don't know, to it, a couple of things. I would say that the problem in French is because everything is
it's default to masculine. Is that
masculine or feminine? But the point is, it's never it.
It's never it. That's right.
But it's troubling when it comes to agents. Yes. You might not want to use that. So
believe them.
Believe them.
Yes.
Exactly. But anyway, the point is, you will really want to give them as much context as possible and as many rules as possible. And also, obviously, within the platform, when you've built your model, you've already given a set of rules. But I think that will go as powerful as what you described over time.
All right. So all of this is the perspective of Pigment as a builder of agentic AI. Now let's switch to the customer side. So what's the vibe or the mood currently? Like, do people are certainly excited about all of this, but how do they react when you start talking about, are we going to have a planner agent and the analyst agent?
So I think I would probably distinguish two types of companies / customers or prospects. Is on one side, you have people that are using Pigment today, and I think they all get incredibly excited about the technology because they already love the technology. Otherwise, they would not have adopted Pigment. So I would differentiate that from like some enterprise that are further away in their journey to adopting technology, where you have to start from a very different point of view. Mm-hmm. So I would say clearly today the Analyst is used amongst our customer, and the excitement is incredible because they really see already that not only it helps them save time. We have so many examples of customers that are already giving testimonials about how much time they save on that. I even got last week, it's a funny example, but the Supercell founder, who is still the CEO of the company, and so it's a company behind Clash of Clans and Brawl Stars, and they have been happy customers of Pigment. Last week, he was literally walking past the finance team, and he overheard a conversation of the finance team singing praises about Pigment and Pigment AI. So he recorded a video and sent it to me
awesome.
About how much they love Pigment and how much it's changed their life. And I think what they see is really like today they are able to automate some revenue analysis, PN analysis. They are able to really have some work that would take them so long before, not even possible to do because they have quite a complex business, and now they do it with Pigment. And we have dozens of examples of that, whether it's like some very traditional company, so like one of the largest transportation company in Europe, very traditional, or a very, very large real estate business in Europe too that is quite traditional. They also absolutely love the technology. So it's really a variety of companies. But it's different from prospect. And prospects today, I think we have to reassure them more because they really need to understand the implication of that, what that will mean, how we're going to help them train their teams on it, how it's going to really involve and change the workflows that they are using, etc. So we'd really differentiate the two.
Are you seeing the drive towards AI be more top-down or bottoms-up?
I think today we see it. Every CEO is pushing top-down. I want AI everywhere, and
yes.
and find a way to make that happen. And,
there was a funny cartoon that made the rounds on.
I saw it on Twitter
today. Say who are we CEOs?
Exactly.
What do we want AI?
I don't know. Yeah, what for?
What
I don't know.
What do we want it for? We don't know.
Yeah.
When do we want it? We want it now. Yes.
I saw it. That's what I was thinking about when I was telling you that. It's like very clearly top-down, and I think I'm doing the same. So yeah. Anyway, I do think there is a lot of top-down, but we also see, OpenAI and the other are clearly gaining the heart of the consumer business too. So we also see a lot of willingness bottom-up to adopt the technology. But I think there is still a big gap to bridge between the two, because you might have some companies where the CEO wants to now spend millions in AI, and perhaps actually the co-workers are really scared about their job and about what it means for them, and about the change management that it will require to adopt AI. So I do think there is a need and there is a paradigm here of helping our companies adopt AI in the right way. So really helping them with change management, helping them with understanding how to train their teams to learn a new job, to learn a new way of working, etc. And I think all of the enterprise AI companies out there have probably still a long way to go to make that happen very well. To give you an example, at Pigment right now, we are doing what several AI companies are doing out there, which is hiring forward deployed engineers and people to really help with change management and deploying the models in the right way. And we are also investing massively actually in customer education. We have a new customer education manager that joined us a month ago to focus solely on that pretty much. Mm-hmm. So there is still a lot of work to be done there if you want it to be done the right way and to really augment the human and make sure that everybody still finds joy in what they do.
What do you tell customers in terms of reskilling?
Yes.
Both for the sort of line employees, but also the managers in this new world of AI.
Now, everybody in a company can become a mini CFO. Mm-hmm. So we have everyone that can really have a team working for them and help them carry on things that they would do themselves before. So it means their job is evolving. And now what they have to do is to set a vision, a direction, and validate the data. So for us, for instance, and I'm talking about finance, but it's the same for any team out there that is doing some analytical work. Now it's all about training people and reskilling people on really learning how to give context, how to give framework, how to validate the data, how to put the right guardrail and understand the data, and then obviously how to take a decision from there. So it's just, it becomes a different job, I would say, but hopefully going back to the beginning, much more interesting.
And then what does that mean in terms of people's careers? You know, we've had on the podcast several great conversations with people in the context of AI coding and, this tension between, okay, well, should you still learn to code? And do you need to still study computer science in a very sort of classical way so that you can sort of deal with the output of the model, or is that the wrong way to think about it? In the finance and planning world, do people, how does one become a CFO or VP of finance in a context where the models do so much?
Well, so first of all, I think if you're a software engineer today, and if you want to study, just go. I think you still need to understand fundamentally what's happening, and I'm sure over time it will be new languages, etc. But the fundamentals of what coding is today, you are not able to use cursor if you don't understand coding. And I know cursor will evolve also towards probably a more advanced version of Lovable or whatever. But it's still, you need to understand the fundamentals in order to build an app, to build a complex model, and so. For finance, I would say almost it's even worse. You are in a heavy regulated industry where you cannot afford mistakes, where you report your results to the street, where if you don't understand the concept of a balance sheet, if you don't understand the concept of a P&L, if you don't understand these things, it's going to be very, very hard for you to know if these agents are going in the right direction. And also, you will probably use more of your finance skills, because instead of going back to trying to collect the data, plug your systems, try to make sense of the data, now you will actually have the time to properly analyze it, understand it better, finding insights that you might not have found before. So more than ever, you need to be highly, highly skilled to be able to work there, and combine it, of course, with also somehow, I wouldn't say too complex technical skill, but still understand a little bit what the technology is going to do, because you need to understand at least the fundamental concepts of how this all works if you want to make it very powerful. Mm-hmm. So that's how I see it today, and we'll see. Maybe over time that will evolve. Maybe in some years I will tell you, actually, maybe you don't need to be that fluent, because maybe now everybody can learn about finance in 3 minutes because of what we've produced here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So no vibe planning.
I think vibe planning is the sense that now you can build easily models on Pigment, so you can do vibe planning on building super, super simple, maybe a cohort analysis that would have taken you months to build. Now you can build in minutes, so that's amazing. So in that way, yes, but then understanding the concept behind to make sure your data is correct is another story, I think.
Maybe let's talk about company building for a few minutes and what you learn. One of the fascinating things about Pigment, other than what we just discussed, is the fact that you're building a highly successful global company from inception, but you're doing it from Europe, which is a little bit of a narrative violation, as they say on Twitter. And I'm curious about how that all came about and how you've been able to do it in a context where, unlike what all VCs would ask their European founders to do a few years ago, you never moved here to the US. So, tell us how you pulled that off.
Yes. So, first of all, I think Europe is not ashamed today. There are so many incredible AI companies built from Europe. You think 11 Labs, you think Lovable, you think Legora, N8N, and so many others. So I think, first of all, Europe is doing extremely well today with founders based in Europe. Now, we created the company during COVID, and it made everything possible. Meaning that all of a sudden, all of my customers were working from their living room, and so I could take meetings with the US at any point in time. So that made that really possible from Europe. I think that would not have been possible, to be honest, before COVID. But now, a lot of people are still working hybrid, working a lot from home, etc. So it's still super easy for me to just work late hours and make that happen. I think it's clearly, what is not easy is that US is our number one market. It's 60% of our revenue today. It's a growing, the market that we want to grow the fastest. And it's always the same. It's like, what do you have to do around you to make sure that even if you are in Europe, because our R&D is in Europe, it's as if you were a US company. So I made sure that day one, from the very beginning with Romain, we went after US investors. You were obviously part of it. We've been building a full equity story in the US, and our investors have been helpful since the very beginning. You've been super, super helpful to build our executive team, to build our customer base, to find us our very first customers in the US, etc. And so we've been leveraging every single lever to make it possible to build from Europe. But I want to prove that it's possible, because I think it's a shame if every company has to be in the US. I think my goal is to create a global company, and it's about breaking boundaries between Europe and US. And I don't think we should think in that concept. So at Pigment, my entire executive team pretty much is in the US. And so it's very easy today to build this type of global businesses.
Yeah. Any magic trick in how to run a senior team in the US when you're in Europe, which... that's Europe to US, but like that question applies to like anyone, with a couple of offices, even within the US. Like this, what is it? A lot of Zooms, a lot of in-person meetings. How do you do it?
Yes, so it's a mix. So obviously, lots of Zoom. You have, I work very late hours. You have to adapt, and they work very early hours too, because it's impossible. We try when possible to hire leadership more, like I would say, East Coast, but obviously there are a lot of skills that you find on the West Coast. Our CMO, for instance, is on the West Coast. And so we really try to build around that. And I think we do a lot of Zoom, but it's also very important that, we have quarterly catch-ups in person. We also do a lot of events in person with the company. We have obviously Global SKO, we have Presence Club, we have our company offsite. We have many, many moments to meet one another. We try to do company trainings in person. But it works super well, I have to say. It works super well. And, maybe it would have been a different stories with us in the US. I don't know. But just in September right now, I'm here 3 times in the US just in 1 month. Yeah. That's what it takes. So it's maybe more tiring in a way, but that's what it takes.
Partners, you have some big name partners from Google, but I'm almost most interested in the SIs, I believe Deloitte and others. Yeah. It's one of the recurring topics that like every board, every startup talks about. Like at some point you want to start scaling through partners, but it's always harder than it seems. So any lessons learned there?
Sure, that's a super interesting topic that is hard for a lot of companies to get their head around, I think, because it takes a lot of time. So we partner with Deloitte, we partner with EY, we partner with PwC, and then we partner with many boutique firms. What you see is it's a little bit like when you build a business, is that you get velocity with the boutique firms first. It's exactly like you get velocity with your SMB customers before you get velocity with enterprise. It's the same here. So boutique firms are the first thing to focus on, I would say, at the very beginning, to make sure that you have a network that is well defined with clear guardrails around you cover that geo, you cover that use case, and your friend over there, competitor friend, is not going to do the same, because otherwise you guys going to get upset or whatever. When you've done that, you need to start building in parallel the GSI motion. And that takes a lot of time, because you need credibility. They need to see that you are serious about what you do. And for them, the other day, for instance, I was with a Deloitte partner, and they were telling me for them, their yearly so-called quota is 25 million. And for those who don't know, in enterprise software, the quota is more between 1 and 2 million if you're lucky, right? So very different numbers. So you need to understand that if you have to feed her with 25 million worth of business, that's not easy, because you are working with many partners at the same time. And so that's why don't go too fast into these GSIs. And when you do it, start building the relationship with 1 or 2 customers. But the problem is that they will take time then to build the practice. They will take time to start feeding you with leads. So at the beginning, do not wait for them also to think they're going to source leads for you. At the beginning, you are going to be the only one to source leads for them. And it's really when they start understanding your business more that they're going to start pushing you over. And that's what we start seeing at Pigment. But it took us a good 5 years to get there.
Maybe zooming out to close the next few years, like we talked about this amazing vision of the autonomous enterprise, which sounds like science fiction, but like it sounds like it's coming pretty quickly. So yeah, what is success in like 3 years, 5 years? Where do you want to be?
I think first of all, the success for us definitely will be around the amount of innovation we've managed to push. So 3 years from now, I would love to really start seeing the results of what I call this autonomous planning system. But 5 years from now, we actually want to build in many other categories. We have a very, very large ambition with Romain. We want to build a $100 billion business, if not more, 200 billion if we can, or even more. And so in order to do that, we are going to expand to what we do today. And so we are already thinking today about this second, third, fourth act of Pigment and about where that's going to bring us. Because with the use cases that we are unlocking today, we are going to unlock actually new ecosystems that are outside enterprise performance management. So in 5 years, I would like to see us starting to have built, more around that, going more into directions around, what the ERP can do, for instance, from really like insights to action. And we're going to keep pushing in that direction to hopefully, in 10 years, being able to start perhaps being really more like an SAP and an Oracle and having a really fully fledged suite of products that can help you across the board. But the difference is with a lot of user satisfaction, hopefully.
Amazing. Well, that has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us and spending time. And very excited about what you've been building, and even more so about the vision that you just described. So, congratulations on all of this, and thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your help again across the years.
Hi, it's Matt Turk again. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Mad Podcast. If you enjoyed it, we'd be very grateful if you would consider subscribing if you haven't already, or leaving a positive review or comment on whichever platform you're watching this or listening to this episode from. This really helps us build a podcast and get great guests. Thanks, and see you at the next episode.